Okay, so let's go with this. Let's start. Okay, so we talked about effective communications. It's a framework to share the thoughts, the ideas, and how to communicate clearly with each other. So as part of this talk today, I will share with you the framework on how you can communicate effectively. So one of the ingredients of the effective communications is there are three elements of effective communications. The verbal, this is the actual message or the content that you want to talk about. Second is the vocal. This is your sound or the voice and the tone, how you project your message. The third is the visual. This is how you look to people when you talk and you share your ideas. So these are the three V's of the effective communication. So if you take a look at this in the three V's, you will see that the visual has the most impact in the conversation. The way you look to the person whom you're talking to. So that it is around 55% impact. If you take whole of the 100%, the most impact is of your visual, how you look to the other person as you're talking to them. Then the second impact is on the vocal, how you are communicating your thoughts, your ideas, your tone, the volume, the pitch, how you talk to them. So that's the second biggest impact. And the actual content, it's only 7%. So it will be surprising to you. But as you engage in a communication, it's the vocal, the voice, the tone, as well as the visual, that's the most impactful, where visual holds the most impact in the communication. So when we are so right now, when we are in the Zoom setting, it's very important that we turn on our videos so that we can see the actual communication or the visual impact of the people, or like when we are conversing with them, they can see our the actual how we are talking to them, how we are looking at them. Okay, so keep this in mind that when visual has the most impact, vocal has the second impact, and then content is only 7%. People don't remember the content that as much as how you looked at them and how you talk to them. Okay. So now, so when we talked about verbal communication, so this is the actual content. When you're talking to people, your content needs to be very simple words. The vocabulary needs to be very clear, and the content needs to be very well organized, and it should be simple for people to understand. And when you are talking about the vocal, it's the actual tone, it's the clarity and the pitch on how you emphasize certain words or the certain parts of the sentence when you're talking to people. The visual is your posture, your gestures, your eye contact. So when you're talking to people, you have to look them in the eye and talk to them. So that has the most impact because it shows the engagement. It shows that you're paying attention to them. So in the Zoom setting, we should not shy away from turning on our cameras. We should actually have that conversation, the Zoom cameras on so that we can look at each other, so that we are not talking to the blank screen. And when we are talking face to face, we need to look at people in the eye for the maximum impact. Okay. So what are some of the best practices? When we talk about communication, there are two types of communication. We have the written communication and we have the verbal communication. The written communication it's about writing emails. It's about writing a message and sending it to somebody or sharing it to somebody. And what's most important is when we write an email or when we write a message, our emotions and the tone come as part of that message and the content. So think about it. In the heat of the moment, if you're very angry and you suddenly write an email and you want to send it out. And I have learned this over the years. Never send out an email which has been written in the heat of the moment, because your anger, your tone, or whatever your emotion is at that particular instant, it will reflect in the words, in the content, and how you type the email or a message. Therefore, when you type an email or a message, always wait on it. And wait on it until you cool down, and then go and reread that message, and then adjust the tone of the message before sending that email out to the recipient party. Okay. So now let's talk about verbal communication. Verbal communication is when we are talking to people face to face. When you're talking to people face to face, we have to pay attention as to how we are looking at them, how we are talking to them. It's the actual emotion and the tone on how we are talking to the recipient or the other person that we are in conversation with. So if you are angry or rude and you talk to somebody in that particular tone, they might just shut off. They will stop paying attention to what you're talking about. Therefore, in any of the verbal communication, face-to-face communication, verbal or written communication, it's very important to have the respectful communication for maximum engagement. So keep in mind, we talked about 3 V's, and we talked about written communication and verbal communication. Okay. So before we get into practice, I will just ask a question, and here the moderator, maybe you can read out the answers. So I'll ask the question of the audience. So what are the 3 V's of communication that we talked about? Maybe put it in the chat, and our moderator will let us know what people are typing.
Sure, ma'am, I'll do it for you.
Yep. So Pratik, are we seeing anything in the chat? So let's see, let's open up the chat. Yes, everybody, very nice. Everybody knows the 3 V's: verbal, visual, vocal. So let me ask you the next question. You got that part. So which one is the most impactful of all the 3? Visual. Yes, spot on. Okay. So I talked about the tone and the clarity and how the emotions come into play when we talk. So I have some few sentences here. So I know you cannot talk or do the role play here. So I have a sentence here. I'm excited to share the news with you. How does that sound to you? Maybe you can put it in the chat. Does it sound I'm excited when I read that sentence? Harshal, you are correct. I wasn't excited. I just read it. I'm excited to share the news with you. There's no excitement around that. I am excited to share this news with you. How's that? Am I excited now? Really excited? Yes. So this is how when you get into the conversation, when we talk about the emotions, we talk about the clarity, we talk about the tone, this is what it means. So when you talk about the excitement, you should really be excited about it. So let's go to the second one. Thank you for the wonderful evening. Did I really mean it when I said that? Thank you for the wonderful evening. Yes, I didn't. Okay. No. Yes. You all are spot on. Okay. So I'll try another variation. Thank you for the wonderful evening. How does that sound? Okay. So there was something different here. When I say thank you for the wonderful evening, there is some sarcasm in it. So I don't know if you caught it. I emphasized on thank you for the wonderful evening. So it's like, yeah, right. So thank you for the wonderful evening. So there was some sarcasm in that. So one of the other ways of doing this is thank you for the wonderful evening. I really enjoyed it. Right. So that's another way of saying it, which means that you really meant it. So I wanted to go through some of these examples so that you can understand the differences when we talk and how it's interpreted by different people. So when I say, I'm so happy for you, it's the same thing. If I just say it, I'm so happy for you, did I really mean it? Okay, Nandini, you are spot on. No, I'm so happy for you, right? So that's the excitement. It really shows the emotion. It really shows that it really came from my heart, that I'm really happy for the person. Okay. So I just wanted you to have, with respect to communication, when we engage in the communication, that how the different emotions, the tones, and the clarity make a difference in how we speak the words out or the sentences out to the recipient. Okay. So we will move on. Okay. How many of you think or know what active listening is? If you can put it in the chat for me. Do you think listening is important? Yes. It's very important. Yes. So active listening is very important. It's one of the key ingredients for effective communications. What is active listening? Active listening is about being able to share your thoughts, being able to engage in a conversation with a person so that you can get to a common understanding and you can align on your thoughts, the ideas, and the understanding and the actual message. So that's where listening comes into play. Okay. So in today's world, there are a lot of detractors for us. Can you just put in a chat when somebody is talking to you, how many of you are on the phone or on the website browsing? When somebody is talking, do you really pay attention, or are you on the phone or websites browsing for certain things, or doing online shopping, or doing something else? Okay. Yeah, I know we should pay attention. My question is different. Okay. Today, in today's world, there are a lot of detractors. We have social media, we have phones, we are on our laptops. When somebody comes and talks to us, our attention is divided. So first of all, if somebody is coming and talking to us, one of the best practice there is that we should silence our phone, keep it away, actually close our laptops so that we are actually paying attention to the person. So we have to concentrate and pay attention to the person who's talking to us. The importance of this is that when we pay attention, they know that we are engaged in the conversation and we are respectful and we are understanding what they are saying. So that's the first rule of active listening, that we have to pay attention. The second rule of active listening is when a person is talking, that we should look at them straight in the eye. We should not be looking down at our phone or looking at the laptop or looking elsewhere. We should be looking straight at them in the eye and doing some kind of an acknowledgement, either via nod or something, so that they know that we are actually paying attention to them. The third rule of active listening is don't interrupt. When somebody starts talking, we already have some questions, or we run ahead, we have thoughts in our mind. oh, hey, I will do this differently. What is this person talking about? Or we have some preconceived notions. So when we engaged in the active listening, one of the key rule of thumb is that we should really pay attention to what the person is saying and not think about our questions or what we want to interrupt them in between and ask them questions or try to refute what they're saying, but let them finish their thought. And once they have finished their thought, then paraphrase. Paraphrase means that once they have finished their thought, then try to summarize what you heard, what they were saying. So when you paraphrase or when you summarize what you heard from them, it helps you come to a common ground on whether you understood what they were saying correctly. So paraphrasing and summarization is very important to come to the common ground and to understand that you have really understood what the other person was saying. And at this point, if you had some questions, you wanted more clarification, then you can ask them the clarifications at that particular point. When you talk about the summary, hey, this is how I understood, this is what I think, what I understood you were saying. Now I have this particular question. How would we go about resolving this? Or what are your thoughts on resolving this particular issue? Or how would we solve this particular problem? So what this does is, this really shows that you're paying attention to what the person is saying, and instead of you telling them what to do, you're including them as part of building a solution, and they will be more amenable to that. Okay. So why is listening important? Listening is important. Like I'm seeing in the chat here, everybody's paying a lot of attention. Thank you for that. So listening is important because it clarifies and improves our understanding and helps both the parties align to the common understanding. It improves problem solving skills because as you're listening to a person and you start asking them questions and then you start leading them to a common solution, they feel part of the process and they feel like it's actually their idea that they are solving and getting to a common ground. How this helps in workplaces, that if you are an active listener, this will help you build relationships because people will feel valued. They will approach you if they have to use anybody as a sounding board or if they have to share certain ideas. They will feel more amenable and very comfortable coming to you, asking for your advice or sharing their ideas and asking for their opinions. And this will also help you build your network, and both in the professional setting as well as in the social setting. Therefore, listening is a very important skill. Okay. So before we get to the next section, so let me ask the audience, why is listening important? If you can put it in the chat. Okay, see, somebody put it already. Listening is important as it helps us to become a good speaker. Anyone else? Why is listening important? To arrive at a common understanding. Great. It helps to clarify issues. That's good. For good communication. Understand the message, makes a good, yes, person feels valued. You listen more, you understand more than you speak back with utter accuracy. That's correct. Listening helps us learn. Great. You're all, especially in your morning, you all are paying a lot of attention and are very engaged. So thank you for that. I'm very happy. Okay. So now let's get to the third part. So I also wanted to touch on this part today. Since I am a distinguished Toastmasters, and this is a skill, this is something that I have learned over years, I thought for students, this will be a very important area to talk about. One of the other areas very important in effective communications is being able to present effectively. If you have your ideas, if you want to talk to somebody, you want to organize your thoughts. So how do you go about doing this effectively? So now we will talk about how to do effective presentations, or if you have to go and present, or if you have to interview, then how do you go about preparing if they ask you to present your work? So how do you go about organizing that and presenting that? So for effective presentations, the framework is that there are just remember home. Okay. So if you want to talk to somebody, whether it's you're preparing a speech or you want to engage in a conversation where you want to organize your thoughts, you can think of it in this framework of home. The first one is a hook. Hook is actually how do you captivate or intrigue the audience on why they should listen to you? Like, for example, if somebody is doing their work and you want to actually get their attention, you want them to pay attention to you. So hook will be to get their attention, to captivate the audience. And then as you start building your presentation after the hook, your opening is very important, because opening is as you intrigue the audience or captivate the audience. And now you want to build the interest of the audience on why they should be listening to you. So in this case, depending on what particular subject that you're talking about in your opening, you might want to bring one story, or you might want to bring some interesting anecdote to increase the curiosity and interest of the audience, because now they would want to learn more. And once you have done the opening, then you get into the middle, which is the actual body of the speech. And this is where you will transform the whole speech. You will have the different sections and you will build the momentum of the whole speech in this body. And when you end, your ending has to be very strong. It has to give an actual message and a call for action for the audience. So remember, when you're preparing for any presentation, remember the framework: home, hook, opening, middle, and ending. Okay, so let's get into each of these areas. Okay, so what is a hook? Hook will be something like a key phrase or a sentence, or it could even be a question. When I started the session today, I asked each one of you, what is effective communications? It was tied to the whole session, but it got all of you engaged in this particular session. And you started typing away in the chat, giving your answers. So hook is about a key phrase, or it could be a question. It's to actually build the curiosity or engage the audience to get their attention. Then opening is to build interest. So it's about introduction to one key idea or a story. So I'll get into one of the examples on how one can do that. So this is about introduction. If you have 4 or 5 things that you want to talk about, you might want to give like a synopsis in the opening, which will give you build the curiosity of the audience. And the number 3 is to build the momentum. It's the actual gist or the whole speech that, or the presentation that you will be working on. There might be 3 or 4 key areas that you want to talk about. So bring them as part of the actual body of the speech and bring in examples, add in humor, add in analogies, bring in stories. So make it very interesting for the audience and bring in the visualizations so that they can get more and more intrigued and engaged and follow you along. And ending, as we talked about, it's a call to action or the actual key message to audience to reinforce the key points that you had as part of your speech. So it should be memorable, so that because when the audience leave that presentation, like we talked about, they will remember only 7% of the content. So if you want them to remember, what is it that you want to remember? So your ending is what they need to remember. So that's where you need to make sure that you do it in such a way so that it's memorable for them. It could be about your lessons learned, some key takeaways for the audience, so that they would remember your actual, what were the key takeaways from the whole presentation. Okay. I usually do the presentations and talks at Women in Technology because that's my passion, one of my passion. Being a woman, when I started my career, I used to be a single engineer on the team. And then as we progress, the things have improved, but still not as much. So when I talk about my career journey, so the hook there would be, how can we improve the representation of women in STEM? Because there are a lot of women who are dropping out of STEM. So how do we improve the representation of women in STEM? And then my opening is, so I started with that question. My opening is, I was the youngest of 4 daughters in India. And my parents defied the norms of India's society to give us all the best education. Okay. So this is all about, this is the opening, and this is now building more curiosity for the audience. Okay. So I want to learn more about the career journey of Anita. And how did the parents defy the norms of India's society? At that time, we were 4 daughters. So there wasn't a whole lot of in the society, people were not very they did not encourage a lot of education for women. But our parents, they encouraged all 4 sisters to go get the best education and be the best in our fields. So this is the opening, because this is where the encouragement comes in play. And this is what the women in STEM need. They need encouragement, right? So they need encouragement from their parents, encouragement from the family members, and there is a whole support structure. So this is the opening. And then in the body, I have certain lessons that I learned over my career journey. And I use those examples and build the stories around it. And I share the real stories from my own journey on, so that people who are actually hearing these stories, they can get some takeaways from these stories. Okay. And then in the ending, I leave with the key messages on what I learned and what I would like them to take away from this whole talk. So when you're putting together a presentation, or when you're putting together a talk, so think about how you can, first of all, get the attention of the audience, the person you're talking to. How do you build their interest and momentum? And then how do you share more information with the supporting materials? And then how do you want to end it so that they actually, you can enforce the key message that you want to leave with the audience? Yeah. Language is very important when we are communicating or when we are putting together our presentations. We need to use very simple language. It should be easy to understand. Use vivid words. For example, descriptive words. When I prepare my talks, I use vivid words or descriptive words. For example, if I am nervous, say, hey, my heart was pounding. So people can actually, audience, it becomes very descriptive, and it looks like the whole situation is unfolding in front of the audience. Or if I was walking somewhere, I was scared, I would say it was dark and scary, and I was. So then it looks like when the audience is part of your story, it's like audience is following you along in that same story. So use vivid words, use simple words. Pauses are very important. When we talk, we should inject pauses for emphasis, and it also gives us time to think. And we can actually use this to dramatize as well, like to add more drama to our presentation. Speed is very important. We need to slow down. Lot of times we talk very fast. Therefore, we should pay special attention to slowing down. When we slow down, actually audience is able to follow along our presentation, and it gives them time to grasp the actual key aspects as we are moving along. It also helps us get rid of those fillers, ahs and ums, which is one of the major things that I learned from Toastmasters. When we talk, sometimes when we are thinking and talking at the same time, we use ahs and ums because we are using those ahs and ums to actually think. So instead of that, you can pause or slow down. So it will help you get rid of those ahs and ums as part of your speaking. Okay. I have a question for the audience. We went through the speech presentation. What is one element in the speech presentation to engage the audience? Use the chat. I'm looking at the chat. Hook? Yes. Everybody got it. Everybody's paying attention in the morning. Nice. Hook is very important. And what is it that we should, why is ending very important? What should be in the ending of your presentation? Yes, to give a message. Key points, memorable actions, conclusion, to make them remember. Yes, everybody is right. Learnings, moral, message, conclusion. Yes. Lasting memories. Yep. Yeah. Now we will go through, I just wanted to share how I go about practicing, and if I have to give a presentation or a speech, I thought it will be very important for the students as you're preparing for your interviews, how you can go about building your confidence, and how you can go about telling your interviewer about yourself. So one of the way to build confidence in communication is, we all have Zoom, or you might even have Quick Player or some other recording too. So record yourself when you're talking to practice your vocal variety. Okay, so this will help you understand, and then it will help when you record yourself and replay it, you will be able to listen to yourself and improve your vocal variety. So record yourself and listen to yourself. So this will help you practice. And sometimes when you're talking and you forget some portion of your talk or a speech or somewhere else, and a lot of times people get nervous, or don't worry about it. If you forgot something, nobody else knows about it. Only you know about it, that you forgot certain portion of what you were talking about. Move on to new things. So keep going. If you made a mistake, don't apologize. If you made a mistake and you apologize, sorry, I made a mistake, I should not have said that, it means you're calling attention to a person who may not even have thought about it, that while speaking, you made a mistake. You're calling their attention to that. Either you made some mistake in saying the sentence wrong or something. Don't worry about it. Don't apologize. Move on. And if you have time, managing time is important too. Like in interview, if you get time of 1 to 2 minutes and you think you're getting out of time, it's very important to be concise. So, and it's very important to practice before you go for interview. Okay. So practice before you go for interview. You need to manage your time. And let's say you're not able to get all your points across. Doesn't matter. Hit on the key points, get those across to your interviewers. And then skip gracefully to the conclusion so that they can remember the key points that you want to leave the interviewer with. Okay, so I talked about effective communication today. So I left you with the 3 elements, the 3 V's of the communication, which are important. We talked about active listening, and we talked about effective presentations. So I gave you a framework today. I hope you are able to use this as part of your interview process, as you're looking for your jobs, or in any conversation. It doesn't even have to be for the interviewing. These skills can be used anywhere. So I hope you have a good framework now to organize your thoughts and engage in effective communications. Thank you for indulging me today.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful session for all of us. I request the audience that if any one of you have any query, please type them in the chat box.
I want to say best of luck to all the students. I know it's for the career placement. Best of luck to everybody as you're preparing for your next big step in your career. There's a lot of excitement ahead.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Harsha.
Can you explain me the importance of the body language in effective communication? Our standing position, and other aspects of.
Okay, so the question is how we can build our confidence when we lose our confidence in between the speech. Practice is the key. So you have to practice. So practice makes perfect. And so that is how you will build the confidence as well. So I'll share with you my own story. And one of the things is that I joined Toastmasters also because Toastmasters give me, Toastmasters is one of the platform where you can actually practice public speaking on a continuous basis. So although I have a lot of opportunities to speak externally or internally, I like to actually engage and keep on building and honing my skills. So I joined Toastmasters so that I could practice. So somebody is asking how to overcome stage fear. This is about don't be afraid. You have to take opportunities to speak.
म्यूट करो कौन बोल रहा है
So you have to find opportunities to speak. And one of the, if you don't want to go, especially for the stage fear, this is where you should find the Toastmasters, because Toastmasters is where you can actually engage and improve your public speaking skills. And it will help you overcome your fear. And one other way of overcoming the fear and for improving your communication is by practicing.
Ma'am, and we join Toastmasters also.
There should be Toastmasters in India as well. It's a non-profit organization, so it's a Toastmasters club. You can look online. You can Google for it to see if there are any Toastmasters clubs available in your area.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it is Toastmasters, actually. Toastmasters.
You know, in our college, we are planning to start the English language lab, and we will be giving you more tips. And we will also have some program for students, you know, where you can go and practice. And the best way to, of course, so these kind of tips will be inviting more speakers, and we can invite Anita Jindal again for these kind of English speaking sessions. But you know, talk among yourselves. Your communication should be in English when you talk to each other, so that makes you comfortable in language, and gradually you learn from each other as well. Watch news, movies, and you know, try to communicate in English only. So that will make you comfortable and more proficient in English. So Toastmasters information or others, you know, we can tell you, because there are a lot of English speaking courses in the city, but unless until you start speaking yourself, you cannot be comfortable with the language. And the best way to start is, you know, to see some news or some story, stand in front of the mirror and narrate it. See your expression, see your, you know, these kind of things. So that will also help you. Yeah.
I guess we got just two more questions. Ma'am,
Mhm.
one is, what role does body language play in our effective communication? Because,
Oh, yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
ma'am, please carry on.
No, it
No,
plays a big role. We talked about it. Visual is 55% impact. Content is only 7%. Your body language, how you look, how you appear to the other person plays a big role, and it helps you build or break relationships. If you are rude or angry in your communication, or you may think you were not rude or angry, but the other person thinks that you were rude or angry, they will stop coming to you or sharing information with you. So body language plays a major role. And if you are on the phone, although you can't see person's body language, the tone will reflect your body language. Okay. So we have to be
Okay.
very careful.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah, the another question is,
Yeah, go ahead, Pratik.
Ma'am, I have also a question to ask,
Yeah.
please. Ma'am, my question is, most of the time it happens that when we give any speech, during the speech, we are seeing that the audience are getting boring that time. So how we can make our speech interesting that time?
So it's not about making the speech interesting at that time. It's about how do you build your speech. We talked about engaging the audience with a hook, getting their attention, opening so that you pique their interest, and then in the body, you have to make it interesting. So the way to make it interesting is include humor, include stories, include analogies, make it interesting for them, right? So it cannot be 1 hour speech and somebody just keeps on going. So, and you have to engage the audience as well. So maybe in between, see like how do you pique the interest of the audience? So you can put a joke in between, or you can bring in a story or an analogy, right? So that will bring the audience to life.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
So Harshal, we can't just improve our communication skills by watching TEDx. We have to practice.
Excuse me.
Unless we practice, we cannot improve our skills.
Ma'am, I have also a question.
Go ahead, Sneha.
Ma'am, what about our hand movement? You know, in sometime in our interviews, it are prohibited, but sometime it may work like, so what about what we should do about our hand movement while speaking?
Okay, so one thing about hand movement is if it is prohibited in your interviews, just keep your hands on the sides. So don't keep your hands in the pocket or somewhere else, or fiddle with your hands. Like when I say fiddling, like this or something, just keep them on the side if hand movement is prohibited. So that's one of the tips I can give you. Because if you sit like this, it's like a closed a pose, which means you're not open to listening to anybody. So just keep your hands on the side. It means you're more open and inviting
And what about if
inviting in the
it's
conversation. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And what about if it's not prohibited, just giving a speech on the stage? There should be any hand movement to make
Yeah,
it
you can include hand movement. So I'm saying, like, when we talk, when I was giving the speech, I was talking like the first V, second V, third V. Yes, you can use the hand movements during that time. But the only thing is, don't keep them in your pocket or keep your hands folded. If you don't want any hand movement, just keep them on the side. That's fine too.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, hand movements, it takes time and practice to come up with the right hand movements when you're talking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I think that all the questions by the audience is over. Thank you for an enriching session, ma'am, and also to answer all the questions of our audience. We would also like to extend our gratitude to Principal Ma'am and Dr. Radheshyam Sir, our convener, and Alicia Ma'am. Lastly, thank you everyone for joining for the session and for being a really interactive audience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you and best of luck.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very
Thank
much,
you.
Anita Jindal, Dr. Anita Jindal, Radheshyam ji, who is convener of Saksham session, Saksham Career Counseling Placement Cell, and Alicia Dhingra, Dr. Alicia Dhingra, who had been coordinating this program and worked very hard to make it success in such a short time. And all the office bearers of Saksham, I don't know the names because I was the one who started this placement cell. And since 2000, we had been inviting all these companies. But I thought that there should be more programs for increasing the skills, and effective communication is a wonderful session. I found it very, very interesting, and I'm sure that all the tips will help you to improve your personality and leadership skills. You will become very good speaker. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Anita Jindal. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right.
Have a wonderful morning and a day. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.